Are the bass changing? Yes or no? Everybody vote.
Yes.
Based on your ROI, whether you're at the BPT or Bassmaster, we're basically fishing for the same kind of money we all were 15 years ago.
I mean, I won $2.3 million and I've spent $1.9 million in entry fees. So, you know, majority of them know how to fish as good as we used to know in our 20s. A lot of them already know how to fish that good or better when they're 16 or 15.
Fact check.
Because
the screen.
they know how to use that. That's what I'm saying. They still
They
fish.
use a spinning rod and a screen.
Let's
And that's how
go,
they
Chris.
go.
That's where they're at that time.
They're at, yeah.
They're still where they're at.
Absolutely.
And they get spotlighted.
They live
Spotlighting
in
for
certain
bass.
areas. It all results.
Bridge cranked up back here.
I didn't
This is
say
a great
anything about
conversation.
spotlighting now.
Spotlighting for bass.
I'm not
Hashtag
playing
that.
that card.
Welcome back to the channel, y'all. Here we are. We're sitting at the, you ever seen that? You ever heard of that? Speed.
Seen the movie?
No, watch
With
the movie
Keanu Reeves?
Heavyweights. It's a movie with a bunch of fat kids. They go to fat camp, and then you got Ben Stiller on there.
I was in fat camp.
Did you cheat? Did you eat candy and stuff?
Give that man a
Somebody needs him a mic.
Give him a mic.
All right. So anyway, welcome back to the channel, y'all. We got a special little episode. We're at the shorelines right here, Table Rock Lake. We're at a Bass Pro event. Shout out to Bass Pro, and for them hosting all of us. So we're all together. I got Matt Arey, Mark Downs Jr., Chris Lane, the cousin of Russ Lane, and the brother of Bobby Lane. We're going to touch on the I didn't even hit you with that before, but I'm
related to Russ?
I got a
Cousin
question
Russ.
about.
No, we just call him Cousin
No, I
Russ.
literally got a question about that. And then we got Randy Howell right here.
Look alike.
I'm sitting between two classic champs. I feel very honored.
Josh.
Got the mighty.
I'm sitting beside the champion like every other tournament the last 2 years.
Hey, we're gonna touch on the reasons for that as well. So, but yeah,
Gopher.
Chris, before we get started, I got a real serious question. How does it feel being cousins to Russ Lane?
Oh, man, old Cousin Russ. Yeah, you know, Russ is not really our cousin, but we call him Cousin Russ.
Everybody in the whole industry is always like, "Oh yeah, how's your brothers Bobby and Chris doing?" To Russ, and he's like, "Man, they're doing good. They're real good. They're from different states."
No, wait,
Oh, yeah.
aren't they from Alabama?
So
Russ
Russ,
is, we're from
everybody in
Florida.
Alabama cousins?
the Matt and Hopkins in the
I just
chat.
asking.
Matt's
Where are
in
you
the chat,
from?
baby.
The Carolinas.
Yeah, well,
you can't crack on the Carolinas. Carolinas are cool. Ask Randy.
Yeah.
People from the Carolinas got flat tops.
Carolina boy. I'm a Tar Heel still. I moved away though. I got smart.
Oh, ain't no doubt.
Moved on away.
I went down there to Alabama with all the cousins. Didn't
We
you?
are, man. There's a lot of cousins in
Yeah, how'd that
Alabama.
work it out?
Yeah.
So,
Like Mark Daniels, that's where he left.
Hey, are we
California.
cousins?
No, listen, I'm 32 years in California. I got 0 cousins in Alabama. 0.
I'm
Shout
sure
out
glad
Alabama,
you
though.
came and visited us, though, and stayed there.
happy to
You
be here.
enjoy it there. You love the Tallapoosa River
Hey, man, are we telling all my secrets?
and the Coosa. Yeah, 100%. So what we're gonna do in this podcast, y'all, is we're just gonna ramble around. We're gonna talk about the state of bass fishing. State of the industry, state of bass fishing, how bass have changed, how the industry has changed, how tournaments have changed. Because we're in changing times, just admit it. I mean, the things ain't the same they was 10 years ago, are they, Randy?
No, not at all.
Randy, how long you been fishing professionally?
Man, I tell you, we're on the brink of my birthday tomorrow, which won't be tomorrow when y'all watch this, but
Happy birthday,
I'll
Randy.
be 50. I'm gonna be 51 years old.
Happy birthday.
I started right out of high school I fished my first Bassmaster Invitational when I was in high school at 17, and then I started the tour when I was 18 and made it the first year and started the top 100 when I was 19. So this will be like 32 years, going on 33 years. So that's all I've ever done. The only kind of job I've ever had. Long time.
Did you know that?
Know that,
A
right?
long
I didn't know
time.
over 30 years. Yeah,
Chris,
that's
did you know
amazing.
that?
30 years?
32 years, yeah.
Dang.
I mean, yeah, because I'm
Randy,
fit,
you
I'm
know
50
that
and
I'm
was
34,
18, so
right?
that's not- yeah, I'm almost old enough, as long as you've been alive.
That's
It
incredible.
is amazing. It's crazy, isn't it?
So Gary Klein, I've always seen these pictures of him being a young kid, and like Gary's been doing this way longer
Yeah, he did a long time.
He did a long
He
time.
was real
I had
young
no
when I
idea
started.
you did this for 30
Yeah,
years.
I mean, I won 2.3 million, and I've spent 1.9 million in entry fees. So, you know,
Hey, look, Randy's ready to go in. He's ready to fire it up.
Dive on in, Randy. Go
Let's
ahead.
just jump into the juice. All right, real
good.
quick before we jump into that. Chris, when was it when you started fishing professionally? I need to know the
Yeah, it was-
story real quick.
Oh, well, I started competition when I was about 6, I guess. Yeah,
You were
I mean,
competing
it
at
was
6?
little team tournaments, and it was me and my brother. Well, I would fish with my dad, my brother would fish with my grandpa, and then my other brother would fish with somebody else. And then until we got old enough, we'd fish this 1-year tournament. It was called the Ring Haven out of Tampa, Florida. And we'd go fish it. And then as we got older, then me and Bobby would fish, or me and Arnie would fish together. Well, I was the younger one, so I'd always fish with my grandpa and my dad, but my 2 brothers would go out in the John boat and smoke them.
It's I never thought about this, but I could see it happening. Have you ever thought that he might have been born in a Kissimmee grass mat down there on Kissimmee? I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
This guy right here is a daggum out the Florida hammer
Yeah.
down home like Florida hammer.
Florida cracker,
Him
Florida
and
cracker.
Bobby. It's unbelievable how good y'all are in Florida.
Yeah.
You get it. You
Yeah,
get it.
and growing up down there, I mean, you learned everything. You learned everything about bass fishing except for deep water, because they don't have it down there.
Right.
But you know, that was our roots. That's what we loved, and that's what we did all the time. There wasn't no video games. There wasn't no cell phones. There wasn't anything. I mean, my grandpa always taught us you got to always have a backup, whether it's a jug of water in the boat, whether it's some extra gas, whether, you know, knife, something, because if you get stranded, it's not like you call somebody, you know? So,
And there ain't a ton of boat ramps on Kissimmee Lake. I can just tell you that.
no, you're in the swamp.
You're out there in the swamp with gators.
Absolutely.
Have you ever spent the night out there one time?
Many a times,
Wow.
but by choice.
I got
I
you.
was gonna ask you, was that on purpose? Was
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was by choice.
Okay.
Duck hunting. Speaking of duck hunting,
to get you spot?
hunter. But duck hunting and just hanging out on them islands out in the middle of nowhere.
I
Just
love that.
Beautiful seeing God's creation.
Well, we've touched on Mark's history before.
Y'all know me.
Mark kind of knows. Everybody knows Mark. Mark came from California. He came to Alabama. He did catch his personal best spotted bass about 3 weeks ago.
That I did.
The same
2.5
bass.
pounds?
No.
3?
No, it was the same damn bass. I know it was.
boy.
Mark.
Hey, DC was on the phone with me. Let me say that real quick, Chris. DC, this is a side story real quick. DC was on the phone with me. I don't know if you called me or I called you. I can't remember. We was on the phone chatting. And I'm like, yeah, I'm out here fishing right now. Da-da-da-da. I say, oh, wait, dang, I got a bite. Hang on. Sets the hook. I'm like, damn, this is heavy.
5-0.
Heavy. Comes up jumping. I'm like, oh, my God, it's a giant. Get it in. It's a 5-pounder. That's my personal best spotted bass. It was 5 even on the scale.
What's crazy is a 415 was his other one that he caught like a month ago, and it was in the same stretch, a bank, and I said, that's the same bass.
And it was.
Same bass.
I checked the photos. First time it's ever happened to me. I checked the photos. It was the same bass.
Come on, lawyer.
Oh, we got Jeremy Lawyer rolling in.
The Missouri hammer.
Creeper in the back. We got a
Oh,
creeper.
you already on it.
Here, let's go.
Yeah, too late. You already in.
He said the trouble done
He
showed up.
double fisting over there.
All right, so we got Matt. Matt, tell us just a little bit of history about it.
Well,
About your career.
I trained Wheeler for 4 years on the FLW tour. Well before
I've heard
ever
you
met
and
him.
Wheeler go back a little bit.
No, yeah, that's all me. I mean, every bass he's ever caught, he owes to me. I never get any credit, but he does. I've been doing this full time 16 years,
Phenomenal.
about half of what Randy's been doing it, roughly, give or take, a year. Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you, buddy.
And started the FLW tour back in I better get this right because I just said it 16 years. 07, 08, somewhere 07, 08. I fished as a co-angler for 2 years, and I'll tell you a quick story about that. So in 2005, I took off on the FLW tour as a co-angler with a little used Toyota pickup, 93 pickup I had, and went down to Okeechobee, didn't know a soul, And y'all know in Clewiston, you got like one or two motels that you wouldn't wish your worst enemy to ever stay in your life. Yeah, well, they were $39.99 a night, and Matt was by himself, and I slid into one of them motels. So anyway, it was bad, but it wasn't terrible.
No, it was terrible.
It was terrible. Trying to be nice here. And we fished our first co-angler event. I went home after the season and made the cup, and as a co-angler, of course, and I was all jacked up. And Andy Montgomery, y'all may have heard of him, and a little guy by the name of Brian Thrift, likes Marlboros and Sundrops. Y'all know Brian. And I said, y'all, we have got to go out. And they were kicking everybody's butt around the house, like all the way up to this point. I said, y'all got to join me on the FLW tour as a co-angler next year. And he's like, that sounds like fun. I think I'll do that. Thrift said, yeah, I think I'll do that too. So us three hit the road next year. Well, after 3 events, there was only 6 events on the FLW tour at this time. And after 3 events, Brian was leading the co-angler of the year. Andy, I think, was second. And I was somewhere in the 20s. I was back there sucking hind tit behind these 2 studs. And, you thought you were something when you was catching them as a co-angler, too, especially when you were new into it. You're like, yeah, I'm a badass. I'm catching them from the back of these boys' boat. Yeah. And then I wasn't this guy, but some of them would come and be like, yeah, I fished with Chris Lane today. He only had 7 pounds. I had 11. Yeah. Like that guy. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, I didn't ever play that card, but there were some that did.
Yeah.
So fast forward to like halfway through the season, we're at our 4th event, and Thrift forgot to pay his deposit on time and didn't get in.
Golly.
So he's leading co-angler of the year, didn't get in. He didn't fish the last 3 tournaments. So Andy and I ended up making the Forest Wood Cup. Because Thrift probably fell out, Andy won the co-angler of the year title in 2006. I ended up winning the Forest Wood Cup as a co-angler in 2006. And then all 3 of us turned pro the next year.
I never knew that.
And again, my rookie year, I sucked hind tit. Both of them made the cup. But it started slowly getting better after that. So I taught them everything they knew also. That's right.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
You're the pedofamilius.
That sounded bad. The what? That sounded real bad.
Pedofamilius.
Yeah. I mean, it's Latin.
He's basically the granddaddy.
Yeah, but they'd call me Paul.
Pedofamilius.
Pedophile, don't they?
Yeah, that's what I was like, I don't like the first half.
I don't
of that
really know.
word.
They said it on "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou." Somebody recap on that underneath the bottom. You remember that? The pedofamilius.
No.
Somebody Google it right now.
Got that. You say,
Maybe
oh,
I'm
brother,
on.
we're out there?
Yeah. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Got any Dapper Dan?
Yeah, that's a good movie. It's a good
Come
movie.
on. I got Dapper Dan.
It's a good movie. You have Dapper Dan?
You even write that and spell it.
Something similar.
You can't even say that in Siri and get that to come out right.
even know you fished co-angler.
Yeah, for 2 years.
For 2 years you did.
Yeah, and
I know.
I fished co-angler 1 year
not
on
good around.
Okeechobee.
You didn't?
On Okeechobee.
Say some bad stuff.
One
You better
tournament.
X that off your phone.
My buddy Chris Novak said, hey, I'm a boater. I need you as a co-angler
He's
to
from
go
up
down
north,
here.
wasn't
And
he?
I says, man, that sounds fun. So I go down there to Okeechobee, and I go in as a co-angler. And
Whooped your pro, didn't you?
no.
Oh, I thought
If
it was
I could
coming.
remember his name, Gary somebody, he was like AOY every single year, and I drew out with him. And I went out and we fished
AOY every year.
in the BFLs.
Oh,
They
okay.
won
I
the
thought you were
points.
talking about- okay,
And I'm
gotcha.
like, man, I'm telling you what, I'm so excited. And I got in the back of that boat, and I realized right then, I don't ever want to be in the back of a boat again. Not one time. And that was the only tournament I ever fished as a co-angler.
It wasn't easy.
No.
It wasn't easy. But I had never experienced a lake out of North Carolina before. So I was like, I need to at least see these lakes before I just attack them from the front of the boat. And I spent 2 years in the back of that boat. And it wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Worth every penny.
Quick
Have
little
a
fun.
mic drop right here. Look, watch
Quick
this,
fun
y'all.
fact:
Watch this.
pedofamilius is the Latin term for father of the family.
I just read it right
Wow.
So you
Dude,
were
you
the father
got-
God, the father man.
He took his Latin.
pedofamilius
Roll
Latin for.
Hey,
I have no idea what he's on.
Same but different. He
Right,
was
he is.
father
You're a
of the
Dapper Dan man.
party,
100%.
whatever. Yeah.
Damn, that's clean, DC. I'm I'm impressed by that.
Boy went to Alabama right here, son.
For real, that's that University of Alabama education.
That's impressive.
All right, so
That's impressive.
let's get into the nitty gritty where everybody wants to talk about. Everybody wants to talk about all these changes going on. I wasn't going to touch on the changes, but here's what I'm going to touch on. I'm going to touch on the soft changes. These bass are changing. Are the bass changing? Yes or no? Everybody vote.
Yes.
Have the mentality of bass. They have a brain about that big. Come on now. Is it the size of a peanut?
What they say, a pea.
Their brain
like
is
a pea.
that big, but I almost messed up here. I almost wasn't politically correct. Is their mindsets changing? Has their identity changed? Has the bass's identity changed?
Negative.
I
A
mean,
bass is a bass. I'm gonna vote yes.
in this day and age, I don't put it. I mean, they probably identify as furries or something like that, as far as we know.
Maybe they're turtles.
They probably think they're turtles. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
Yeah, really.
Or muskrats or something.
Yeah, why would they have changed?
I know. That's why we're here. This is a good debate. In my mind, I feel like the bass have changed. They just don't get on the dang bank like they used to. Do y'all agree or not?
Well, you don't go to the bank.
I don't go to the
How
bank.
do you know?
I
mean,
wouldn't
it ain't that
know.
hard to figure out.
Let me say that real quick, Chris.
How did they change, Mark?
Well, I mean, it's funny that we even bring this up because I go to the bank, right? And every time I go to the bank now, it's just like going to the bank to get some money. Every time I go to the bank,
It ends up costing you.
exactly, it end up costing me.
Well, that's
Correct.
simply that has a lot to do with the format and the way y'all have to fish now.
But if the fish live there, shouldn't I still catch some?
Well, some, yeah, but you've never been able to go to the bank and catch 75 pounds either.
That's true.
I mean, rarely.
But golly, man, I just feel like they're starting to not live there anymore, man. I swear.
Here we go.
That's because people like Dustin and Wheeler and Drew Gill and the rookies we got on the elites are making us believe that because they're catching 4,000 times more bass than we are.
No, there's so many minnow shaking going on. All the bass are like, we got to go find a minnow somewhere.
That's what it is.
But
We're luring them out there. They're like,
I mean,
where
I
they go
don't
find a minnow?
disagree with that, Matt. But the
what
thing is, when I look at even like my own season, I did a lot of in and out, meaning fishing shallow and or the bank and fishing out, right? Every time I really go, all right, I got this. I'm going to go shallow and catch them, which is my natural, I grew up on shallow water fish. That's what I like to fish, right?
You in for a long day.
It's been a rough tournament for me every time, bro. And then the 4 tournaments that I did good, caught them all off the bank, 4-face sonar.
Don't y'all agree it's very relative to the fishery, though?
It is. It's very relative, in my opinion. I'll say this, that we are not commenting on. You have to understand, on day 1 of practice, you can go to Lay Lake. You can swim a jig.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You can get some big blow-ups. It will lure you in. Mm-hmm. Mark, did it not you? Yeah. Okay, so Mark has some good bites. I'm just saying Lay Lake in general, but so the interesting dynamic is we have 3 days of practice with Major League Fishing. How many days y'all got at Bass? 3. There is a dramatic change at these fisheries after 3 days of practice.
Yeah.
You can tell the temperament of these fish, how they're acting. You can tell places that are getting pressured. You just know the way they're biting. These suckers are smart. They will adapt. So you have 3 days of practice. The first day of practice, you're like, holy crap, this place is amazing. Mm-hmm. By day 2, you're like, I'm not going to mess with them no more. And then day 3, you run back through an area, you're like, what the crap happened? Mm-hmm. They've got their head beat in. I would love to put a game camera up on just a tree somewhere in a creek. Let's say Toledo being Housing Creek, whatever it is. I want to know how many boats have ran in that creek and fished. And you can bet out of y'all's 100-boat field, 100 have went in there.
In 3 days, absolutely.
In 3 days, 100, and probably 40 every day.
Yeah.
So we don't really see the pressure as it's happening because we're doing our own deal. Mm-hmm. But when you get a loop-de-loop with 30 boats, they've seen the whole area, and then you've actually cleaned out the population of bass that even live in a place. So then it makes it tough on tournament fishermen and local fishermen. So just the pressure in general, I think it just changes those fish to go into protective mode, and they just say, I'm good.
Well, when you catch one, he's not going to bite again the next day.
No, sir.
I mean, he's not going to do it.
No.
So if you think about it, what we're all talking about, we're going off, like what you were talking about, you're going off of your personal success. Now, if you would have went to the bank and did good, then it's a different story, right? So
Is that his way of telling you suck?
Damn, Chris.
I was like, hey, just cut right to the chase.
No, that's not.
I mean,
what I'm
if you
saying.
were Chris Lane, maybe you'd have caught a few bass.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. The thing
He's trying to
is,
see every side of the story. Dude.
no, you guys are talking about based off your personal success in the event.
Right.
Now, if you go out on Wednesday and you go to Gunnersville and you hit the right mat, you throttle their heads in, and you would have won any tournament that was on that day.
That's right.
So you gotta look at it like that. I mean, groups of fish, they move. The fish move, and you have to adapt. And I think that's probably why Wheeler, Van Dam, and all those guys were so good. Rick Clun back in the early days, so shallow, is because they learned, okay, these fish aren't biting here anymore. And then, like most of the tournaments that I won, I remember finding something on the second or the third day to actually win the tournament. So you get so zeroed in on those certain areas, call them community holes or that spot or that area, to where when you do, like in that moment, when you're in that 4-day event, it's never won in the same spot. Very rarely. You gotta go off, to another spot or another pocket or another bay that the fish weren't biting there in practice. Ain't nobody in there. So here's the ultimate question. If you're in an area where there's a lot of fish, and this is good, I'm going to touch on something that probably a little crazy. You go into an area and there's a lot of fish and you're fishing and you don't get any bites, right? That means, is that a bad area? No. Well, to you it is, because you didn't catch anything. Right. Add forward-facing sonar into the mix now. No, we're not going to touch on that.
That's the first time it's been mentioned
I know we're not going to mention
on the
that,
podcast.
but you saw them all. You could see everything you wanted to see, under and above, or
You can
whatever
see the
that
whole
thing
daggone
does.
ecosystem.
You can see it all. So then will you go back? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So those are game time decisions that you have to make that may take, may put you at the top of the leaderboard or at the bottom. Yeah. So that's the biggest thing. It's like if a tree falls in the woods, this is really cool because I had it happen here. If a tree falls into the woods, does it still make a sound if nobody's around? Absolutely.
You dang right. Well, quick little question / story for me. Y'all know the areas that I'm talking about. There are certain areas that you have fished, and I'm sure y'all have comment below if you've had this happen. I've got areas that are on Lake Jordan, for example, in Alabama. You ever fished Lake Jordan?
Never been on Jordan.
You been on Lake Jordan? I know Randy has. So, Lake Jordan, up the river, they had a AOY championship. There used to be a lot of rock piles and all that up there. There are certain areas that used to be phenomenal, and a ton of money was won on them. When I tell you I live 4 minutes from Lake Jordan, I cannot name the last time I have idled over one of them rock piles and caught a single bass.
Wow.
Brett has been with me. We have not caught them. They do not live on them no more. And I think, in my opinion, now pressure has changed the whole game. I think that they get so pressured that anytime a bass gets on them, whether it's a Tuesday afternoon, a Thursday, or Friday, I think that people have pressured them so much that they get pulled off in places so much, they know. You got to understand, if a 4-pound bass, how long does a 4-pound bass live? 10, 15 years?
Long time.
A long time.
12 and a half.
That's their running area. They know every rock on. If you had 15 years to run 400 acres and you run that whole area, you know every nook and cranny. You just do. You've spawned. You've did this. You've ran over here. And seasonally, you know your little pattern. You know everything. So, and you get your head caved in about 4 or 5 times on a place. I ain't going back.
So let me ask
I'm not
this.
going to be there no more.
So that's a good point. I'm not going to disagree with that at all. Do you think that's very related to technology investment?
Absolutely.
1,000,000%.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure you agree with that because it's like we talked about St. Clair. I mean, there's places at home, community holes
Yeah.
offshore that if you roll up there and you catch one, it's a miracle. St. Clair used to catch them right under your boat. Now you can't get within
Used
60
to.
foot of one. You know,
So 100%. I think mapping has a huge factor of it.
Yeah.
I think
YouTube.
I think live coverage.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
there ain't no more secrets no more. So
Yeah.
these bass have now like ran out of places to go.
they have to constantly move.
They're constantly moving.
Yeah.
And now they've just said, I almost cussed on the channel. I almost said a bad word, 4-letter word. They said, screw it.
You were gonna say a bad
Four
one.
letters.
I was gonna say one.
That's 4 letters.
I was gonna say one that started with an F. They were gonna say screw it,
Fudge.
fudge it,
Yeah.
I'm about to
well,
say, but you Alabama
and then
boys.
they just
almighty.
go. Let me just never stop nowhere because I'm gonna get my head caved in. Now they're still getting their head caved in.
Yeah.
And so, like, what I'm saying is there's some more pressure now than we've ever seen. Do you think the bass's minds have changed, Randy? Yes or no? You hadn't answered it yet.
I think it does. Yeah, I think they've changed a lot. And then, like you said everything that I believe is correct. The technology, the knowledge, the learning curve has been cut, and big time. Like every young high school angler we got in Alabama and North Carolina and Texas and Missouri and everywhere else, majority of them know how to fish as good as we used to know in our 20s. A lot of them already know how to fish that good or better when they're 16 or 15 now.
No, they
And
just.
then
Well, they
college.
have a
They
fact
just
checker.
use
Because
the screen.
They know how to use
Yeah.
that. That's what I'm saying. They still
They use a
fish.
spinning rod and a screen.
Uh-huh.
Let's
and that's
go,
how they
Chris.
Go get 'em.
Well,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
but
I
that's
mean,
what I
Chris
mean.
is
That
right.
so
Like,
now
they
they're all
train
Chris.
catching
I
them.
mean, honestly.
Chris,
train
you a
differently.
big guy. I'm not going to debate you because you might beat my ass.
No.
But what if I told y'all
Go ahead.
that I've been in the boats with 12-year-old kids? I used to guide, and now I've been in the boat with them. These 12-year-old kids, they can skip docks just as good as all of us.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
They can, man.
right.
Right.
I've
oh
seen
no, I
them.
believe it.
They'll go. I'm like
How many
What?
tournaments have been won on forward-facing sonar this year?
a bazillion.
He
All
said
of them,
terminants.
almost?
All of ours,
A lot
but-
of them.
all of
except
yours?
the Sabine, maybe.
Right.
But here's the common
you know-
No, wait,
denominator.
we weren't even at the Sabine. I don't even remember
What?
where I fished.
Here's the common denominator, and here's
Got
where.
me so twisted, Mark. All this technology, I
Because
can't
I'll
even
give
talk.
it to you real simple.
Here we go. I got Chris, and this is
I'm a
why we
simple
brought
man.
Chris in.
I'm a simple man.
Mark, here's a common denominator. Why them tournaments were won on four-face sonar. I'm gonna tell y'all, it's just a huge, big factor.
good.
You ready?
Yeah.
We ready.
That's where they've lived forever. And we finally have found where they live. The 80%. We tapped into the 80%. They live there year
Used to be
round.
their sanctuary. Poor
If
things
they ain't on bed, they out there.
Live there year round? No, I disagree. They're living in the middle of the ocean, just swimming down the lake, just trying to find something to eat. And then what? Oh man, there they are. Now you can see them. They ain't living there. They're swimming, trying to go get something to eat, and they eat that minnow.
Dustin
I
just
know, but
means
they're living
just
in
They
that
don't
area.
live in the middle. They're just swimming over. They're
That's
trying
not
to
their
get to the
house.
I
bank.
know, but like what I'm saying is like that's where they're at that
Where
time.
they're at,
Oh,
yeah.
They're still where they're at.
Absolutely, yeah.
So like it's like April, they're on the bank. That's where they're at. But like in May, they leave the bank.
Right.
And from May until the next April, then they get back on the bank.
Yeah.
it's just like a deer.
Yeah. Then they get
They
spotlighted.
live in,
Spotlighting for
certain
bass.
areas. it all result.
Spotlight deer.
Brett's cracked up back here.
I didn't
This
say
is a great
anything about
conversation.
spotlight now.
Spotlighting for bass.
I'm not
Hashtag
playing
that.
that card.
There goes the views, man. The
God
views just went
bless.
up.
So we wasn't gonna even touch on four face art, but we just said, hey,
Imagine that.
we're gonna
That's
just
what
talk and
pops
see where
up.
it goes.
That's the term right there.
But like the state of industry. But this is a good conversation because we got me. I'm kind of a younger guy, but I just think
Scoper.
I'm a scoper. I'm a scoper.
Get him a T-shirt.
I am.
Get him a T-shirt.
But here's my thoughts. It's
Audience
like,
is going wild over here.
so I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm going to get kind of deep on this. I go back to watching a long time ago. We always watched them guys. They used to. I've gotten beat by them, old timers, dropping spoons out there. Mm-hmm. They drop spoons
100%.
on them fish that are on bait. And they was doing that and beating my head in down there. And I'm like, what are they doing? And they sit, what they would do, they sit on one of them breaks where those shad and where the current was at. Oh, and they just sit on the big break where all the shad was at. And they would do one thing. They turn that flasher on, they knew where the shad was at, and they do this. Mm-hmm. And they just do that. And they just jig in that shad.
Spoon.
Lock it up. And they was suspended fishing.
I've done that a lot of times.
So, and them guys were prevailing then. They were beating the guys when the fish was out there. So what I'm saying is, like, have they always been in the middle, or did they just now get there?
They've been out there a long time.
Oh yeah.
No, they've been out there forever. But you said a real crucial thing, and like you talk about the state of the industry. It's a sport,
Right.
so when you talk about a sport, most sports haven't changed.
Oh, this is getting ready to get right.
It's
Right?
getting
When
good.
he said sport, it's getting ready to get
I'm
right.
just talking about the
Yeah.
sport. We all talk about bass fishing being a sport,
That's right.
right?
We fought for years to make it respected as a sport.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people watched it. Nobody watches the guy staring at a screen.
Well, everybody
It's
says the
become
numbers are up.
one-dimensional.
We talked about that.
Everybody says the numbers are up. The numbers are the biggest they've ever been.
Oh, have they been?
No, that's what they claim. I don't.
Are they? So when something becomes one-dimensional, then you
agree.
don't have a sport.
Randy's
anymore.
covering his face over there.
And
He's
I
either
think
tired or
that's
bored.
probably
I'm
the
just
biggest
tired, that's all.
problem that you run into is if the golf ball went in the hole every time and everybody made birdies, nobody's going to watch golf because they're all going to have the same score.
Right.
Pretty much.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So when you go in and you change the sport drastically, the state of the industry, I mean, this has been a conversation for what, 2 years?
It has.
3 years now?
Yeah.
And it's become one-dimensional. I think when something becomes one-dimensional, nobody's going to watch it because you know the outcome. So if that's the case, then why in the world would you allow it? You have regulations in all sports. Could you imagine what Major League Baseball would be like if they used metal bats? Everybody hit a homer. Mm-hmm. It'd be the one guy that hit it against the wall and didn't get over the top, and they lose. Yeah. I mean, they have regulations for a reason. You can't use live bait. Why? Because it's a regulation. Can't spotlight deer. Mm-hmm. Why? Because it's illegal. It's a regulation. Talk about the conservation side of things. I mean, that's the most important thing, because if we want this sport to carry on and we want the generations of the kids and the youth and everything to keep going and going and going, then you have to have regulations on it. I mean, that's just
I'll tell you
science.
something funny that kind of relates to what you just said, and that's we all have people come up to our boats and they're like, "What's them two big old things on the back? You know, power poles. You know,
Mm-hmm.
what you got them big TV screens for? You know, people that don't really tournament fish.
Yep.
They might fish a little bit, they don't really tournament fish, and then they see that thing on my trolling motor, and I get that question. What is that thing right there? My active target transducer. Because it doesn't look like the old transducers. Right. You know, it looks different. Right. What is that thing right there? And I said, well, it's a live transducer. Well, what does that mean? It means I can see the fish out there swimming around, and I can throw at them, watch them follow my bait, and chase it till they bite it. Mm-hmm. You know what the first thing them people say is?
That's cheap.
Exactly what they say.
Yep. Yeah.
And then how do I tell me, Dustin? Tell me how to explain to that person that it's perfectly fair. It's still a sport. It's still ethical. It's all just a perfect little bubble of FFS geniuses out here.
So here's the whole premise. I will say this.
Okay, I might have added to that a little bit.
I'm on the spot. You ready? So here was the whole premise of Forward Face Sonar. And let me say this. I have benefited arguably more than anybody in the world. Right? I mean, I just have. I've had a phenomenal.
1.3.75 million and 2.5.
Yeah,
okay,
I literally,
yeah.
I've done, I've done very well
you
with
just
it. But
stay
here's
up
the
with
thing.
Bank account on this
But here's the
phone.
thing. I will say this. So, four-face sonar was really never an issue until the nomadic fish factor.
Everybody really understood.
I
it.
don't think it was ever an issue in the crappie world. Shout out to my crappie fishermen because they keep real quiet about this.
Yeah.
If you notice, the crappie world ain't losing their mind because they're not going back. Crappie are so hard to catch. Crappie have been so hard to catch for years. Y'all went crappie fishing, you know. They're hard to catch with four-face sonar, son. They are smart. The crappie guys have been real silent. Shout out to y'all. I commend y'all. But the premise of four-face sonar is not, I don't think any of us can complain about pulling up to a brush pile and making an accurate cast.
Sure.
Do you hate that? Do you hate that?
Makes us more efficient, and that's our goal.
You like being more efficient. Do you like that? Mm-hmm. Okay.
You're talking about forward-facing sonar being more efficient to do that?
Making you more efficient
Making
as an
you
angler.
more efficient.
Yeah.
You can pull up to a brush pile and make a good cast.
Where you can hit your
Right.
target
You
quickly.
can hit your target
Where
better.
stuff's at.
I don't think we can all complain against that. No. But the nomadic fish factor, when the masses of our anglers really caught on to that. So Jacob won a tournament at Champlain. He won it on roaming smallmouth. Mm-hmm. That was one of the very kind of first mainstream kind of deals. There was maybe a couple more, and then I won at Cayuga on roaming smallmouth. Mm-hmm. And then there was not an uproar. But then like the mainstream anglers, when I tell you instead of like 10 guys were doing it, like 80.
Yeah, everybody.
Then it became very monotonous because everybody else started doing it, and it became a very big problem with what we had going. But like as far as like pulling up to a target and making a cast and hitting your target, I think that is phenomenal. I absolutely love that because you can present your bait perfectly. So like whenever someone asks me, "Oh, that's cheating," that's completely different. So I relate back to the crappie world. Well, the crappie guys, they've been pulling up to brush piles, and they can talk their little crappie jig over them brush piles just perfect. And they catch a limit of crappie, and legally, they're done. So if you're a tournament fisherman, you catch 5, you put them in the box. You're done, or you're culling. So like the conservation side of things, if you abide by the rules, you catch your limit just a little bit quicker, but you're legally done. Mm-hmm. That's in my opinion. Yeah. So like there's so many different mindsets to like how is that legal or how is that not cheating. So we go back to regular flasher days. You never would have known to even drop a spoon right there back in the day. But we didn't have social media to comment about it. Yeah. They just go out there and catch 15 pounds of spotted bass on a damn flasher, and they'd be done. Mm-hmm. So the same argument could have been made back when we didn't have social media to talk about it and really do a podcast to dive in and have different mindsets. I love this because I see different mindsets on it, but we didn't have that back then.
That's right.
So I think the same argument could have been made with the flasher, but we wasn't there yet. You know what I'm saying? Well, but I do see the premise of the argument. I do.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is again, Chris. Sorry, 1 second. I just back to what you said about a sport being respected. So these same people that are like, well, that's cheating, ain't it? Those are the people we're trying to get money from because they're like the non-endemic people that don't have any relation to our industry. That's the money we have to have in order to blow our sport up. Mm-hmm. Y'all all agree?
They might want to buy a boat.
In order to do that, we have to get those people to respect what we do as an actual competitive professional sport. Yep. So they're looking at it from the perspective of like, they're watching them swim around. It's different to us because we have different mindsets. Right. But to that person, like it's hard to explain that. It's hard to sell that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you go back to the sport, but when you talk about that, when you look deep down into the water with traditional sonar, 2D, live imaging, all of that stuff, everything that everybody has learned for the last 50 to 60 years in professional bass fishing, as a sport, it goes back to how do I get that fish to bite? If you put a peach cobbler in front of me 17 times, I might not eat it. 18, I might take a bite. 19, and that's what's happening is that bait is being presented in front of that fish until he eats
Perfectly
it.
and efficiently every single time.
Because they can see how that fish is reacting. And I think that is the mistake with the sport of bass fishing is there is none of that anymore. Everything that Rick Klein and Kevin Van Dam and everybody that, made this sport to what it is, you can take all of that and just completely wash it away.
Chris,
And
you
now
better
you
get
got-
it all out now because you and I are never getting back on this podcast. You do realize that,
That's okay.
right? Randy's the smart one. He's
I'm
quiet.
just saying.
He's,
But I'm not going to hide.
yeah.
So presenting a bait 15, 20 times at a fish before face sonar, that's not right.
I'm not saying it's not right, but I'm saying it doesn't teach
I see
you.
where he's getting ready to
It
go.
doesn't teach you.
Well,
to
what if I
understand-
pitch it one on bed 15 to 20 times and beat him in the head with a big weight?
Absolutely. I don't. no.
He just
You're
dropped
talking to he thinks he's got this. Here's the problem. I don't bed fish. So you're talking to the wrong
I freaking hate it. I hate it.
Yeah, I hate it. I don't do that. I'm not going to sit there on the fish for 2 hours.
Fifth. Yeah, I love it.
Randy
So-
loves it. You love it, don't you? Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I just don't think, there again.
You bad fish when you
Why
can't
are
see
we,
them.
where's the state of the industry?
This.
Really?
I
So they
mean-
changed it. So Major League Fishing went to one period. I think it's great. Bass went to one sonar, which I'm
One
telling you,
transducer.
I don't
55
stay
inches of
up
screen.
with the Joneses and the world of
I don't
social
either. I
media
don't
and everything
bother
that's
with it.
going on. But when I hear would you say that thing that sees 500 feet out?
Oh, that's saltwater. Yeah,
That's an
Yeah,
Omnia.
dude.
No,
Stuff's like
yeah,
150
Omnia.
grand.
Omnia is the
Omnia.
real
the
saltwater.
Omni.
Omnia sees like a quarter mile though.
Yeah,
though.
and it's like 150 grand or something.
Yeah,
like
that's no. That's not what guys got. But Garmin does have what's called a LV62
Yeah.
saltwater
Yeah,
edition.
Scott-
of
big
live
transducer,
scope.
big.
It's I mean, it's about twice the size of what we currently using, and it can see, they say 300 to 500 foot.
Yeah, so Scott Martin was running one at Champlain. He could see a smallmouth at like 250 feet, and then he'd run it down and use his other
Then he's
transducer
using-
to catch it.
Yeah.
Who did that?
No, he ain't. A lot of guys.
Scott.
Scott ain't the only. I mean, there's a lot of guys doing that.
Yeah, so they're using that to see the smallmouth. You can't throw 300 feet.
Sure.
But you can see them out there over 200 feet, and then you just run
Chase 'em
them
down.
down.
You
And
run
then
up
you
100 feet and then you put your trolling motor brakes on and back you up.
he turned the camera. Those are illegal.
on creep.
Hey, are those? Do any of y'all
No, we
guys
can-
run those?
We can have the brakes.
No, well, we can
guys
still
got
have
brakes.
them.
Do any of y'all run them?
I
Yeah.
don't.
There's- I don't.
Well, that's what they eliminated it for us this year or 2025.
They
We
did.
got like 4 guys at least this year that ran them. There'll probably be more next year because they did not ban that in MLF.
Well, here's the thing. Like, we were sitting in our first meeting this year at Toledo Bend, and we only have 1 or 2 meetings a year. And
I heard about
dude, this
that
was a
meeting.
flipping joke. I mean, I'm sitting there going, the only reason a guy's got these brakes is for reverse when he's got a fish following his stuff.
Mark. Reverse.
Hey, bag
like,
up, Terry.
Everybody, clap your hands.
So, and I'm looking around, and I raised my hand, and I said, guys, these brakes, I mean, I get it. I said, but I don't. I said, first of all, these suckers are going to go flying off and hit you in the face when you hit a 6-footer up north, because you look at them and they're sitting there like this. So, second, when you make a cast out there with a jerk bait, bent, whatever, and a fish gets behind your bait, you're backing up on him. I mean, you could get a fish behind our bait in Long Creek down here at the dam. We can go 2 miles with the fish behind a jerkbait till he bites
In
in
reverse.
reverse. And I'm like, that's extending your cast using a motor,
Yeah.
which in turn is illegal.
Right, that's like trolling.
And
right?
everybody's looking around going, I think that is against the rules. And then some of the guys that had them are like, damn, they got me figured out, you know? And I'm like, why are they even on anybody's boat? Like,
You got a little bleeping
they
thing.
Can see the fish.
I said,
Can you
darn.
bleep
That's
this?
the difference. It's because they can see the fish.
Are you sponsored by Crappy Breaks?
Period.
No, I'm not. But but when y'all called that out, you said, "Gotcha." That's exactly what you said. He said, "Gotcha." That's how
Some
I
Dave
said.
Chappelle.
All right, so here's where we're at.
Anyway.
We with the state of the industry, we do have some changes coming next year. I think some of them are good, some of them are kind of some of them are this, but I do think in my mindset, bass have kind of changed. I think the fishing techniques have changed. Technology has changed all across the world. Literally, my little boy is gonna. Everybody's kids from here on out are gonna encounter these technology changes. Like I done told my wife, like, we're not giving him an iPad every day.
Right.
We're not gonna do this.
Yeah.
We're not gonna let him do that.
That's good.
So like I was born like literally watching TV. When my mama cut that off, there ain't no more TV. You go outside and you go play in the dirt.
But you're going to still let him be spotlighting for bass.
1,000,000%.
and here
My
comes
dude,
Randy.
Trent, I love you. I hope you watch this podcast when you get old enough. My guy, the first thing I gave him right when he was out the womb was a jighead minnow. I put it in his hand. I said, passing the sword, baby. Passing the sword.
So going
Absolutely.
A moose minnow.
It's going to put you through college,
This
boy.
is
Right
going
here.
so far backwards. I don't even know how to go forward. I mean, you think about it. I mean, look. I go back to the sport. I'm not talking about fishing. I think live sonar. I think
Oh, it's cool.
the technology.
It's cool.
I think
It's cool,
everything
dude. It
is
is.
fantastic. But let's talk about the sport of it. If Alabama knew all of Auburn's plays and Auburn knew all of Alabama's plays, who's going to watch it?
I think Michigan knew everybody's play,
Yeah,
didn't they?
and so did Bill
Texas
Belichick
smoked
for
them.
years.
No, didn't Michigan know everybody's play for a little bit?
They got fines for that.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I
so
was
that's
saying.
what I'm trying
I
to
didn't
say.
know that. Yeah, they knew everybody's play.
So
Yeah.
there you go. Did they
So
win
there
the
was-
national championship last year? They beat Alabama. Oh, that's
They probably knew all the plays. That's why Saban dipped. He said, "My book's up." So anyway, so y'all got some changes at Bass. Not a lot.
Yeah, well, it was funny because when I got the rule change sheet, I looked at it and went through it, and the good thing is I don't have to change anything on my boat.
There you go.
It's exactly like it's already said. I
Look,
mean,
you can save some time and effort.
55 inches of screen max,
Yep.
which I run 412s. I could add a 16, take off a 12, still be good.
32 times 7 is 14,
What?
98,
What?
27.
Yeah, you should have seen this boy earlier trying to do math in his head. When I told him
132
55
inches of screen.
Mark's
I was
over
sitting
going,
there like, I'd say 412s is 48.
Correct.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
16
like,
and
hey,
312s
I
is
can
52.
get that far, baby.
man.
I got that. I made it to 5th grade.
A one transducer.
About 410s.
410s? You can run that.
No, that's a shotgun. Shoot darts.
No,
I like
no,
that.
no crappy brakes. One live transducer must be mounted on the trolling motor.
Yeah.
And 55 inches of screen, and the no information rules staying the same.
No, I thought they
At
fixed
this
it.
point. They did for 2 days.
And then it went back?
Where have you been?
Hold on, man. Hold on. Stop. Pause. Flag on
This
play.
like froze the internet
Hold
for a
on,
day.
man. Yeah, time out.
Time out.
Randy's over here just
Wait a minute.
chilling.
I saw the
Stay
initial
awake.
backlash that they got, right?
When they changed it to January 1st.
Yes, I saw that.
That-
Obviously,
that
that
blew
blew up.
In
Then
48
a couple
hours.
days later, they reverted it.
Yeah, correct. That's the change.
That's
I'm
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought
Yeah.
you said there was an additional one.
No.
I was
no,
finna
not
say,
a
I'm
third.
like,
Yeah.
what?
Might be an additional one. You just don't
Hey,
know yet.
listen.
Yeah, you might know
we,
more than
we
I
all
do.
we all see the additional changes. Trust me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this. It don't matter where you compete, there will be changes.
And also, you're fishing
Straight
for,
up.
based on your ROI, whether you're at the BPT or Bassmaster. We're basically fishing for the same kind of money we all were 15 years ago.
Hey, why don't y'all speak to
20
that?
years ago.
They've been out here a long time.
I ain't got no
Randy,
comment.
What you think about
Me and
that?
Randy
For
ain't got no
100 grand.
comment. We're just
Yeah,
chilling.
when did 100 grand come up, Randy? You be real good for this. 32 years out here. When did y'all first start? Can you remember 100 grand?
I think I remember the first one was, it seems like it was a,
Like 86.
No, that long. That's before
I
me.
was 5. That makes me feel good, Dustin. Appreciate you, man.
I graduated high school in '91. I started in '90 and '91 is when I first started fishing the few Bassmasters. But it was at Kerr Lakes. I grew up on Lake Gaston and Kerr Lake over there close to where Matt's at, and I think it was a Red Man Golden Blend tournament, and then it became an FLW tournament. After that, that was the first $100,000 one.
Okay.
That was like 91, 92, 90, somewhere in there, 93, somewhere in there. So that was 100,000, and then little by little, it turned into the FLW tour, and that's what got me my first break. I won a $100,000 one when I was 23, and it was 98.
What
98
lake was that?
On Lake Wheeler in Alabama.
Okay.
When I lived in North Carolina, but that was my first.
Heck yeah.
So that's when the 100,000 kind of started happening. It was like in the early and mid 90s, I think.
That was
you
a
remember when
major deal in the
That was
90s.
big, yeah.
The Forest Wood Cup paid $1 million for 2 years
It did. I
to win
remember that.
07 and 08. Michael Bennett and Scott Suggs won $1 million. Then it went back to 500,000, and then it kept going backwards, and we're back at 300,000.
Hey, I heard
What's
there's
the problem with that?
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I heard there's a tournament on Gunnersville in October that pays 500,000.
So they say.
Chris Lane,
I have heard
he
that.
mentioned
I
that
heard
earlier.
that.
Chris,
Yeah.
tell us about this. Tell us about it
Is
real
that-
quick.
That's
No, I didn't make it. John Hunter beat me out. He finished second. And I
Well, you
finished
could still
sixth.
qualify next year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
you
can
got
qualify
it
next year. Yeah, it's the Ultimate Angler World Championship.
what-
It's
yeah.
called Unified Pros. All you got to do is be a member. It's $500 to be a member, and it lasts the entire year. It's like a fishing license. Pay $500. You fish any of the sanctioned events. You can go to the ultimateangler.org and look on there and click on all the buttons to figure out your events from BFLs, Toyotas, Bass, all across the league, TTAs.
And to
I
qualify
don't
as
know,
a-
are they even around anymore? That TTA thing?
Touring Anglers Association. Was that it?
Yeah, I don't know.
The one that had the tournament at
the
Lanier.
NPFLs. in
No,
fact,
no FFS. Yeah.
BFLs, all of them. There's certain, regulations, but if you're the highest finishing member, you win $500,000. They're paying out 1.3
I was gonna say it was
million.
big. It was big, and it's backed by the state of Alabama,
Backed
right?
by the state. of
Yeah, money's
Alabama.
coming
That's
from the
what's cool.
state. That's the big thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's-
Shout out to Alabama. I love Alabama.
Is it though?
Guaranteed.
I appreciate all my cousins donating a little bit of tax money.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, there you go.
Well, here's the final thoughts. I'll say this: at the end of the day, you got to think about the big picture. Randy, you've been doing this 30 years. Mm-hmm. You've had a you're a dang legend in the sport. Chris, you just the same. We all are super blessed to get to do this and have a great time doing what we do and passion. We launch the boat and see a sunrise every morning, and we just blessed to go out there and do it, with or without electronics.
Yeah.
With or without electronics.
Yeah, I don't care if you use them. Hey, I don't care if you use them.
Hey,
Like I'm going to tell you, I
you
don't
flipped in a
care
lay
if
down
you
today
use
and caught 2, didn't you?
I sure did.
Because I'm not. Nope.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie though. Real quick, Chris.
Oh boy, here we go.
I gotta hey, listen. Chris know where I'm going. Where you going, Chris? No, don't leave.
baby.
Hey, don't leave. So one day, y'all probably don't know this. I seen Chris. I want to say we was practicing for Red Chris. I said, dang, Chris, you about to launch the boat. I said, man, when you get on FFS? Man, I don't use that FFS, man. You know that. I'm shallow water king out here.
Did you say King? Chris?
Shallow
That's why he got up.
He got
That's why he
up.
got up.
Look at him over. He's
I don't
over
need
there
no
chilling.
FFS, right? Day one of practice, roll around, and it's so ironic. You gave this example earlier too, DC. Day one, we was on lake. You won this. They was biting shallow. Suckered your boy in. I went all in. Hook, line, sinker. I'm like, oh. And I know Chris was in on that. I'm like, I seen him a couple times too. But then the bite started tapering off shallow a little bit. I'm like, man, getting a little worried. Day 2 of practice come around, kind of ain't the same. Checking some stuff, now I'm about to slide down the pond, I'm gonna start looking. I'm looking now, right? I'm panning. It's time to pan. I'm panning.
I'm in a bind.
Yeah, I gotta
We need
see
a little
something.
Mark Daniels emoji.
So I
on
catch
our
me a
phone
couple
doing
panning.
that.
I feel good about that. Day 3 of practice. Now the shallow bite trash, low key. I see Chris, same launch ramp, same time, everything. I roll up. I look up at his trolling motor.
Don't tell me.
Chris,
No, he didn't.
what's that on your trolling Chris, I said, Chris, what is that, bro? Hey, my man didn't went overnight and put FFS on his boat. Hey, Chris, you got to come back so you can tell him I ain't lying.
So that's how it started.
You got to tell him I ain't lying,
That's how
Chris.
it started.
Hey, this is true story. Huh? I said, Chris, what are you doing?
That's how it
He
started.
ain't lying. I mean, dang, I was trying to win. That was good. Yeah, I was trying to win, and then I turned it on, and I caught one, and I'm like, "God, I hate this. I just ain't even enjoying it. So I did. Yeah. But I took it off so that I wouldn't be tempted to go out there and do that because my
the
mind
devil.
trying to keep up with that mind ain't working.
Mama said it was the devil.
The devil.
He says, where's your forward-facing sonar? I said, I'm not using it. Yeah, 2 days later, I had it on.
And wasn't a scratch on it.
It's beautiful.
Oh, my face is
Oh
hurting.
boy, I laughed on. Listen, nobody was around. I laughed on the inside. Good on that.
What's Humminbird's live? Is it live or
Mega
something?
Live, I think.
Was it a Mega Live?
No, he had a active target on there.
I don't know what
I think. Active, where you go, Chris?
Hey,
I think he
service
had
trailer,
active
whatever
target.
you doing now, come find me.
He ain't never coming back. Chris ain't never
Oh
coming back.
boy.
Man,
That made
Y'all
my
got
face
Randy
hurt.
crying over there.
all right, so I'm gonna sum up the conversation. So it was really good because we got Chris, we got some veterans in the sport, we got classic winners, Randy, Matt, all these guys. So I love seeing different perspectives. And at the end of the day, we're still out there bass fishing. Whether you use electronics or not, just go out there and have a good time. We went today. You flipped some out of a lay down, caught some on a top water. I caught some out in the middle. Randy caught some in the back of a pocket on a crankbait. Mm-hmm. So they still out there to get caught. So have a good time doing it. We just figured we hop on here and just run the mill for a little bit, have a good time.
Just waste y'all's time.
Yeah,
it.
so I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Y'all follow my guys, Matt, Mark, of course, Randy, and Chris.
Kristen left us, man.
He went in
Chris?
the bar.
Give us a closing
Oh yeah,
statement.
close us out.
It's the devil.
This is real simple. All you can do is all you can do.
That's it.
Because if you've done all you can do, then that's all you can do.
100%.
So if you did all you can do, then that's it.
That's it. Tell
Do
them,
all you can do.
Tell them to like and subscribe. Y'all like and subscribe. And we're out. See ya.
See ya.